Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Connecticut at your service. We come to you live each Tuesday at 6:30 right here on Soundview TV, and we feature individuals that are making a difference in their community with a purpose. So they're not only doing service for our community, but they're doing it with a purpose. And today, I can't tell you how just wonderful it is to have my guest on today. His name is Dwayne K. McBride, and he's owner of McBride Safety and Security Consultants, LLC, and he brings a wealth of information about how we can be safe year-round. And I can't wait to just talk to you a little bit about. So tell me about you. Welcome, Dwayne.
Thank you.
And tell me a little bit about you and kind of how did you get into the line of work and, started your company, and who motivates you?
Yeah, after high school, I went to college for 4 years, came back, and within 2 years, I was taking the police test and passing it, and came on as a patrolman in January of 1993. As far as who motivates me, my dad was also he was a firefighter, and he was a housing police officer. So he motivated me to be a police officer.
I mean, and you've got a long history in law enforcement, right? I was reading you went to the police academy. You were a community police officer, that's so important in our community, that we help law enforcement and the community work together side by side. So I celebrate you for that. And it says that you used to walk the beat on Stratford Ave, which I think is awesome because a lot of people know where that is.
Yes, I walked it for years with a partner and sometimes alone.
And so tell me a little bit about, because you were like a detective and, you worked in major crimes. That's something you see on TV, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I worked in major crime. Major crime is just another word for homicide detective. I worked the cold case squad, and at some point I was lucky enough to get picked up by the federal government, by the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I got sworn in as a special federal officer, and I was a part of a task force.
Just amazing. And you've done that work, not to try and tell your age, but I heard you're retired.
Yes,
You don't look old enough to be retired.
I am retired, thank goodness.
And twice over.
Yes. I got retired as a police detective, and I went back to Bridgeport, and I worked in communications. I worked in what's commonly known as the dispatch center, but we call it the emergency communications center. Okay. And so I was a dispatcher for about 10 years, and I just retired 2 weeks ago.
Well, congrats. Yeah, and you're already here. Look at that. You're already making a difference in a different way. So thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't want to give your age, but you have, 20 plus years in law enforcement, right?
I have over that, but yes.
And I know that you do a lot of things to give back to the community and things like that. So I know that your family has a foundation. Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, I would love to.
He's like, okay, let me tell you.
I would love to. It's called the Willie and Sandra McBride Foundation, and it's named Willie and Sandra McBride Foundation after my mom and dad. My dad passed away, and we did that in his honor, but in her honor too, in both their honors. We did about 5 years ago. We started this foundation, me and my brothers.
And your brothers, and who are your brothers?
There's 4 of us.
Because everybody knows the McBride family, so I just want to let you put it out there.
My older brother, so the older patriarch of the family is Willie McBride. He's named after my dad. He's a junior. Then there's my younger brother, Jermaine McBride. He's a city electrician. And Sean McBride, who's the president of the foundation, who also works for the McBride Electric Company.
Oh, wow. And that's just wonderful. So, I've been watching the news, right? So you and I have known each other because we took a multicultural business development, and I've heard you speak. So I'm chatty, you're chatty. Our guests are going to be in for a treat today.
Yes.
So I've been watching the news, and usually around special times of the year, our community, our seniors, and our individuals are a little more vulnerable. And I was watching the news, and they were talking about how people are just distracted and shopping and this and that, and how on at least 2 occasions in the last 2 weeks that somebody's wallet was lifted, and they don't know anything was taken until they go to pay, and then they realize they don't have it. But by that time, people, and it said on the news, like this one family, it was like $6,000. So I know you, and I know the expert and the level of expertise that you bring. So I wanted to see if you could share with us a little bit about kind of when you consult, what does that involve? And then give us some tips on how individuals can, protect themselves and and their assets.
Yeah, no, I usually do my consulting on safety and security. I usually do it with companies and businesses, but I'm very active, and I know a lot about especially about all year round shopping. Number one, everyone should always be aware of their surroundings. That's number one. Aware of your surroundings. But when you do go shopping, number one, when you park, be cognizant of where you park. Get a mental note of where you parked at, so you can make it back there. Remember that if it's seasonal, more people are on the road, so there's more drivers. So be careful when you drive. Lock your car up. Put your valuables in the trunk when you go inside the store. Always put your valuables in the trunk, because they'll break your window. $300, $400 window for a couple quarters in the console.
And do you recommend that people park closer?
If you can.
Further?
Well, always, if you can, you park closer to the door, the entrance of where you're going to go. But always look for a well-lit spot to park. A well-lit spot to park will be perfect. And again, be aware of your surroundings at all times.
What might be some recommendations that you give to individuals that, right now it's like 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it's like dark out. Yeah. And people are walking, the buses currently are free, so a lot more people are getting on the bus, but come December 1st, they're not going to be free anymore, so people, I imagine, will be walking more. Okay. What might be some safety tips that you would give for individuals walking alone?
I would tell people, number one, keep your bags, women, your pocketbooks, your purses, closer to your body. Always keep them close to your body. When you're shopping, I wouldn't carry around a lot of cash. You know what? That's what cards are for, debit cards, credit cards. And try to limit your credit cards to maybe one or two. The more you have, the more you got to cancel if they get taken. And the pickpocket is the one. You know what? Instead of putting things in your back pocket, you put it in your front pocket, and you should be fine. I don't know anyone that's ever lifted pickpocket someone out of their front pocket. So that would definitely do it to help.
I carry a lot of luggage in my bag. I don't know that will fit in my pocket, but
keep it close to your body.
But I have heard that. Yeah. One of the tips that it isn't even me, but I had saw it on like Facebook, that if you're, all of us are like traveling around and multitasking and low on gas, and something could happen with you driving, and sometimes we don't always have our phone charged. And I remember, I don't know if you've heard that about leaving a message. An outgoing message on your phone if you feel like your battery is like dying. Have you heard that before?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, I've heard that before. When your battery when you're getting low, to be on the safe side, you leave a message of outgoing message of the situation, that the phone is dying, and whatever instructions you have for someone at that point. At that point.
Where you are.
Yeah.
What happened. Because sometimes we don't know, and I will tell you that I've seen instances happen real close to home. And you wouldn't think, you're like, okay, I'm almost there, and then you never know to be prepared.
Especially if you're young, for your parents' sake.
And you talked about packages in cars. So, people go to go to your car, put something away, and then go back in the store. People are like watching, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's not good.
No, that's not good. But we do it. But we do it every holiday. You know what? When you go into, it usually happens in malls where there's numerous stores. You buy a bunch of stuff from one store, bring it outside, put it in the trunk, and go back in the other store. And I always say to people too, when you put it in the trunk, and no need to take it out of the trunk. When you're gonna go home from the store, if possible, go straight home. And leave it in the trunk. Leave it in the trunk. And you know what? There's always issues coming up with children. So keep your children close to you. And I've always used two things. I was a single dad, so I would write the name of the child in their coat for school, and then write my contact information in their coat for times that they may get separated from me, which thank God never happened. But we would always. In times of holiday, we would always get a little small plan about what to do if we got separated from each other. So I would definitely recommend that.
And that's
people.
really, really good advice, especially, this is certain times of year, fires and all of that kind of stuff is more prevalent. And as you were talking about putting contact information on a child's coat. Yeah. I've also seen where they put it on their car seat.
Oh, yeah?
Because God forbid something happens, there's an accident or anything like that, that at least they know the child, the information about the child and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And they even have, when you get out of the car, that have a spot, and it's usually where the gas door is, where they say, stand right there, and that's your spot when you get out of the car until we get ready to go. I will tell you, I mean, safety, you just cannot say it enough about how important it is. Now, I know that your expertise, before I go there, we were talking about your foundation, and I don't want it to leave my mind. Okay. Because you said that your foundation actually does something really awesome with how they give, so I got to give you a minute to talk about that.
Thank you.
You just don't hear about that kind of stuff in urban areas. So
thank you, Ms. Nieves, and it's something that I and we are all so proud of. We offer free fencing lessons to the youth in the Bridgeport area. We have a wonderful former Olympic fencer from Jamaica, and she's a teacher in the Bronx, and she started off teaching our kids fencing back in February. Now we're up to maybe 35, 40 kids. We started in Sheen Center, the basement of Sheen Center, and thank goodness for Senator Marilyn Moore, who helped us get that thing started.
She's been on our show. She's amazing.
Yeah. And she got us moving. She got us started on that, so we do thank her. And
Lorraine, too, because she's a huge door opener in this community.
Lorraine let us use the basement. It was great, and that was the beginning. And now, I'm so proud to say that Sacred Heart, their students are helping us out. They're volunteering their time. The fencing students, the fencing players, and they're helping to coach and teach these children.
That is amazing. It is great.
Yeah, you got to come down one day.
That is amazing. So we are here with Dwayne McBride of McBride Safety and Security Consultants, LLC, and we're talking about safety not only during the holidays but year-round. And I know that your expertise is around businesses.
Yes.
How businesses can protect themselves. So when you usually go to do like a consultation, what are some of the things that you want to make sure that the businesses are mindful of as they're thinking about corporate safety?
Yeah, well, what I do is I'm a consultant, so I do assessments. I do security assessments. So I go inside these businesses and I look for simple hazards on top of safety issues that may be lurking. Of course, the outside with security, fences, alarms, gates, cameras, monitors, things along those lines. Lights, yes, lights. And I write a report, give them my advice, and we go from there. Usually, I try to help them implement those things to make that site safer.
So outside of the exterior and the building itself, do you consult them on other things with their business, like cybersecurity or, or things, personnel?
Oh, yeah, I do. And just to talk about one client, the former ABCD, now Alliance.
Okay.
They've been a client for months now. I am their security consultant. They have numerous sites, about 14, 15 different sites.
Yes, and more than Bridgeport.
Oh yeah, they got them in a few neighboring towns and cities. Great company, nonprofit agency, and I'm happy to be working with that nonprofit agency and giving them all the help I can give them.
Now they do a lot of things in the community.
They do.
Energy assistance, child care, things like that. How might that be different from a regular, maybe somebody doing business out of their house, or are there different things that are important that we're mindful of things that they need to protect themselves?
Yeah, at Alliance, I think they travel a little bit more, so they go between sites, and on Saturdays they may be having some kind of the vegetable market. They have something on Stratford Avenue. They had where they brought the kids out, ice cream, hot dogs, and arts and crafts and other safety issues for people. So those are Saturdays that I have to go and help them out there. Most companies I don't, it's Monday through Friday, but this company in particular, they're a little bit more rounded.
And it sounds like their needs are a little bit different. So when you're talking, to a company, I would imagine it would be like, let's take a look at what your, because a spa or something like that might be different than, a child care organization. So I heard that part of your work involves interviewing candidates that maybe want to be in security. Could you tell me, like, what are some of the, if somebody wanted to transition to some form of law enforcement, or the different levels or the career paths? I would love to know a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know what? I do interview. I interview for that client in particular, their security. Unfortunately, now it's all virtual. I don't get to stand right in front of them. There's no in person. But I have interviewed multiple people for positions within Alliance security positions.
So when you hire because you hire individuals too.
I do.
Right? And then you help other companies to hire. So what are the things that could make someone not be a good candidate for some type of security or law enforcement? And is there a way around that?
Well, there's so many reasons why you wouldn't be a candidate. They have a list of things. Felonies are one of them, and then certain
is it all
domestic.
Or just some?
No, it's all felonies and just some misdemeanors, usually domestic type misdemeanors and things along those lines. And what I will be offering soon is I will be teaching the guard card class. It's an 8-hour class. Every security guard in Connecticut has to take that class and get certified. And a little bit longer, I should be certified. I'm still working on it now.
So that's really kind of like a good segue to individuals that want to serve and protect at whatever level. What would that training entail a little bit about?
You know what the training entails? It's not as much physical as it is mental. And you know what? The Constitution and all those laws surrounding seizure and things along those lines. So you got to learn, these candidates got to learn what they can and what they can't do as far as people's property and persons are concerned. So it's a lot of that. Most of it is the Constitution and
like
all
that
those
meaning
laws.
Knowing your rights.
Knowing the person's rights who you are working with. Knowing the public's rights. Because you're going to be in a position of authority.
So I know that you talked a little bit, and it could be any kind of job. I would imagine that felonies might be a factor. Some type of, domestic type charge, especially if you're going to work with individuals, children, seniors, families. What might be some entry level, that you would be teaching as far as for somebody that wants to get into law enforcement, that wants to start their 20 plus year journey?
Yeah, you know what? And my personnel, they come in at entry level. So everyone's coming at entry level, and that's where I like to start them, right at entry level. I'm so lucky to have some retired military veterans and retired officers, looking at working with me and starting at some sites here in Bridgeport and abroad. I've had some sites in Hartford that I just ended the contract there, luxury apartments, and I had guys working in there, and they're all entry level men, just the average Joe. That has to get the guard card, of course.
The guard card certification, but
and I train them a little bit more on top of that.
And you would imagine, like, just have some common sense. That looks not right, then it's probably not right.
Common sense is good. Common sense is good.
All of that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So let's talk a little bit about kind of like some safety in vehicles, right? So we talked about making sure that you're tucking, whatever you're buying, that you're leaving it and don't keep going back to it and drawing attention to it.
Yeah.
Are there other type of safeguards that individuals can take while traveling in their vehicles?
Yeah, you know what? With your packages, we talked about putting those in the trunk and going straight home. You know what? It's seasonal, and there's many holidays, and some of these holidays, every statistic goes up, and I mean every statistic goes up criminally. Be aware of your surroundings and use common sense.
Excuse me. Absolutely, like in my excuse me. My husband tells me all the time, you're always distracted. You're always doing this. You're always doing that. And as much as I hate to say it, he's absolutely 100% right. But what are some things that we can be attuned to as we're like walking or even in hallways. Like, I don't know if there's buildings that the lights are out, things like that. What are some things that we can be vigilant of?
You know what, as you're walking, and I'm assuming that are we still talking about in stores and
If anywhere that you
in
think
general?
might be, what I really want to get out of the rest of the show is just some tips that we can make sure that we're keeping ourselves, our children, and our personal belongings safe.
I understand. You know what, I have to say that the first thing is situational awareness. And by situational, in real-time situational awareness, and by that I mean, you know what, you can go from this room to the next to outside, and the situation changed, and your awareness should change along with it, as opposed to being, in your home or in your neighborhood. So situationally, you should always be aware. I always tell people with the cash, don't keep cash on you, and if you're going to buy,
Don't keep whipping it out either.
yeah, if you're going to buy something, you pull it out when the cashier asks for it, not prior to that, But there's nothing like cards, There's nothing like cards, and if people don't see you with money, because they're watching you, they're watching, as they're in malls and they're watching, and that's the thing about if you think someone's following you, I tell people to drive right to the police department. Drive out to the police department, and that's what happens during the holiday season when people are shopping. Some of these suspects, they may see them shopping and follow them right home.
And you're not even noticing that they're...
Yeah, you're not noticing it, but if you do notice it, please drive right to the police department. Drive right to the police department. And if you don't notice it, and before you know it, someone is there, beep the horn, try to make as much noise as possible, and instead of yelling, help police, I always tell people, yell fire.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
I tell my kids, my daughters, yell fire. It gets people's attention a lot
in
quicker.
a different way. I don't know why people just don't want to...
I don't know.
Kind of like get involved. And I will tell you that my husband and I today on the way home, we were having a conversation because I was telling him how you were going to be on the show.
Okay.
And we're like, something could happen unintentionally because people are scamming so much. You don't know what's real and not real. So the other day, my husband gets a text, and that's from the banking institution that we bank at. And it looked like a legitimate message. And it was like, if you don't call and verify right now, we're going to shut down all your cards.
Yeah.
Look, and when you don't carry cash,
yeah.
that card is your lifeline, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and he called the bank, and they're like, ignore that, don't respond to that. Have you heard of any instances like that?
Yeah, there's many instances, and you know what? And I wish I had it with me, but there's the Better Business Bureau has a website, and it's only a few letters, and I wish I had it with me, but I will give it to you maybe if you have a website to put it on for your viewers.
Maybe when we, talk a little bit about,
and that includes
show your video that we can include that in the posting. Absolutely.
Yeah, that includes scammers, con men, anything that seems a little weird, or just to check. You know what? It's a very simple website that you just go to and you put it in, and they tell you if it's incorporated and if it's an actual valid company. Yeah, and
it's everything. It's like you can't even, and I will tell you that is just, as a trusting community person, we don't look at all the different ways that people, and they figure that out, and then they figured out something else how to, do over that.
And online shopping also, you leave the house, that's one thing, but online shopping is just as dangerous,
Listen,
you have
all
to
day
be careful.
All day long.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
Not all day long. But.
I tell people to use the sites you're familiar with. You know what? If you're not familiar with the site, you might not want to use it. One thing that in the website, it should say the URL should say HTTPS, and that way it's a safe site that you can utilize, because you're giving your credit card information, you're giving card information, and if it says the HTTPS, the S stands for safety and security, so it's a lot safer.
Well, we have just a couple minutes, so we've got a call. How about that? Thank you for calling Connecticut at your service. Do you have a question for our guests? Hello? Okay. Maybe they'll call back. Okay. So you talked a little bit about credit cards. Is there ways that people can protect their financial, like information, or, you said only keep a couple of cards on you. What might you recommend for like their other?
Yeah, keep a couple of cards on you as opposed to your full complement of cards. And, of course, I tell people also, I don't know, if something happens to your cards, they become missing or stolen, you call the credit card company before you call the police, because there's no imminent danger. The credit card is stolen, and you're sitting there, probably in your car or in your home, realizing that it was taken. Call that credit card company as soon as possible. As soon as possible, get that stopped, and the chances of catching the person who did it, are doubled or tripled at that point if you're as fast as they are.
And I wish that I knew from like the news, but they were talking about how there's actually like a tracker that can where your wallet is or whatever, so that you know. And they actually found the people that had taken this woman's credit cards where they were shot, and they get distracted. They were talking about buying a gift for like a relative or something, and they engaged the woman, and she didn't pay attention, and they threw it because they showed it on the camera. They threw the coat over the person, and when he lifted up the jacket, he also lifted the credit card. But one of the things I've heard that's actually a really good idea that more people should do
GPS trackers?
Well, not only the tracker, but just to copy the front and back of your cards.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And keep those in a safety, like a safety box or something like that, and a key. If you don't have, a safety deposit box, maybe something like that in the home.
Also, what I do with my cards, and this is, and it depends on the person, I think. I also don't sign the back, so they should ask me to sign, and sometimes show an identification. So if someone walks up there without identification that says Dwayne McBride and his back isn't signed, they should sign it, and they have to show ID to the clerk or the cashier. So that's something that I personally do, and it works out well.
That's actually a good idea, and it's not anything you need to do different.
It's not anything.
And one of the things that they also talked about was just making sure that my husband and I did like our wills.
Oh, okay.
And just putting in, and we don't got nothing, but when you add up the little bit here, the little bit there, that's a way to kind of protect your family, protect your assets. What is your plan that you want with things like that? And so we have been here with Dwayne McBride, who is the owner of McBride Safety and Security Consultants, and we have spent the last 30 minutes talking about ways that we as a community can keep ourselves safe, that we can keep our personal belongings safe, and how we can be an asset to one another. So I want to just give you just 30 seconds to kind of if there anything else that we didn't talk about that might be some advice that you'd want to give.
You know what? The most important part of that safety is helping each other. I always say, it's one person watching another person's back. So, the common thing is if you see something, say something. But as common as it is, that's what works better than anything else. Better than cameras, better than alarms is your brother and sister.
And don't go places alone. I know. I got to
take
take my husband with me, even though I might be getting his gift. But look away.
Yeah.
And one of the things too that I was trying to think of a big tip, because you said some things call your credit card company before you call the police because you're not in any immediate imminent danger, which is a really good thing because a lot of people call 911 for everything.
They do.
And that actually backs up the line, right? Because
I work there. Yeah. We have a non-emergency number here in Bridgeport.
Do you know it?
I do know it.
The
number is 203-576-7671.
One more time.
203-576-7671. That is your Bridgeport Police non-emergency phone number as opposed to 911. Use that number if it's not emergency.
And then to reach Willie, you can call him at 203-296-9383. And we are here at Soundview. I tell you that the half hour goes by so fast.
It does.
But we want to thank all our viewers. We want to thank you as our guests, all the people that help make this happen. We are the voice of the people. So make sure that you're tuning into us each week, each Tuesday at 6:30, right here on Soundview TV. Follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, and make sure that you keep watching and we celebrate all the things that make us great.